Welcome to the Building Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Taujanskas, and join us as we explore the world of construction. Each episode, we welcome a guest that shares career highlights and career advice, and hopefully inspires the next generation of construction professionals. Welcome to another episode of the Building Your Career podcast. Today, very excited to be joined by Katerina Psora. Very keen to have her on a guest. I know she was a guest on a podcast, the Structural Engineering Channel podcast, around about 6 or 7 months ago now. So whoever can, please do check that out. I'll include the link below. But we're super keen to have her on the guest. She's someone who is kind of going through things at the moment, who's got a lot of advice to give, particularly to the younger generation out there as well. So, Katerina, I will leave it up to you. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and a little bit more about the company that you work for as well?
Hi, Dom. Thank you for having me on your podcast. It's been an honor. Thank you very much. So at the moment, I work in Pell Frischmann. I'm a structural engineer. Pell Frischmann is a consultancy that has 11 offices across the UK. We deal in various engineering sectors, such as infrastructure, rail, buildings, environmental, water. I specifically work in the building sector, focusing in both refurbishments and new build projects. So yeah, at the moment I work in Space House. It's been a project that I work for almost all my career. I work 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, so there was some quite interesting posts about that project, Space House. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Because obviously you've been involved from start to finish. So what have been some of the kind of the highlights from the project for you then?
So Space House is such an amazing project. Actually, it has given me a great work experience since it has many different type of structures. It's a building that Pell Frischmann designed back in the late 1960s. So now we are refurbishing it. It's two buildings, one that has 18 floors and the other one has 9 floors. We did do some expansion of the floors. It was 16, so we made it 18, and the other one was 8, and we made it 9.
Mm-hmm.
And it has 2 floors of common basement. Mm-hmm. It's actually going to be used mostly for offices, but there will be retail as well, and cafes, things like that. As I said, it combines many type of structures such as post-tension slabs, composite decks, RC structure, precast concrete, lots of work. And at the moment we are very close to completion. So this is gonna end at some point. So I'm a bit sad, but it's been really nice because the experience with the site discovery is it's really good experience to get. You don't get it in a new build.
Yes, of course. And I think that's quite popular at the moment, is adding, a floor onto an existing. So how did you go about doing that? Was it like a steel frame structure on top of the existing, or what was the setup there?
So the whole building is originally it was only RC structure. It had a lot of precast already. Most of the floors had precast slabs. But then on one of the buildings called the tower, we used mostly for the extension, we used concrete as well, reinforced concrete and precast slab and post-tension slabs. But when it comes to the other building, we also used a lot of steel structure, just because in this specific one, we didn't want to load the slab of the 8th floor. We wanted just to support it on the columns. So we made a little bit of steel structure to span from column to column, and then the RC structure on the top. It's actually a very interesting project. I can link I can send you the link to see
Yeah,
how it
please
looks
do.
like.
We'll share the link below, so make sure to click out and check that project. But
Yeah.
Katerina, if we could kind of go back to the start then for you, what kind of inspired you to pursue a career in engineering, and how did you kind of first get started in the industry?
So what inspired me? I was really good in subjects like maths, physics. Actually, maths was my favorite back in the day, and I also liked constructing stuff. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I wasn't like one of the kids that had somebody in the industry, or I knew exactly what I wanted to do. But yeah, it was. I always liked building stuff with my brother, from a tree house to a chair to anything. And then when I wanted to choose a career path, I wanted to combine all my skills.
Hmm.
And civil engineering was a career path that combined all of that: maths, construction, and yeah. And then my father actually helped me a lot taking my decision. He always believed in me and helped me taking a decision because he saw my talents, and he actually supported me all the way
Hmm.
until now as well. He's my biggest fan. So he's very, very proud. So in high school, I studied my undergraduate degree. After my high school, I studied my undergraduate degree in civil engineering and construction.
Hmm.
It was in collaboration with the University of Derby,
Hmm.
but I studied it in Athens. So in college in Athens. So part of my degree was in English as well.
Okay.
So it was easier for me when I wanted to do my master's to go to England,
Hmm.
because of the language and the terminology, and as well my first degree. So I studied in the University of Manchester, my structural engineering master. And then after that, I moved for a year in Greece where I worked. And then I decided to come back to the UK, where I started my job as a graduate structural engineer in the company I work for now, Pell Frischmann.
Okay. Brilliant. Sounds like a really interesting journey and a really interesting how you've kind of progressed along and ended up where you are. But knowing everything that you know now, then, so if you could kind of give yourself one piece of advice when you first started off on the search, or even a few pieces of advice, but what advice would you give yourself?
Well, because Pell Frischmann is not my first job I had, I worked also in the summers during my degrees. I found that when I was younger, I didn't communicate uh, best what I wanted to do,
Hmm.
and I felt like this actually affect my health, my mental health, because I wasn't feeling like I was in an environment that I could nourish and grow. So I would say to myself that don't be afraid to communicate your thoughts and ideas,
Hmm.
because communication really is the key. And if you cannot do that, maybe you're not in the correct environment, and
Hmm.
you should maybe change that, because you do want to be in a supportive work environment. And I think this will improve the relationship with your coworkers, but also your mental health. And
Hmm.
it's really important to see that,
Hmm.
because actually being in a friendly environment and supportive like I am now, actually I think it's like such a blessing.
Hmm.
So I would say we need to encourage open communication, and when it comes to career goals and challenges, but also even in a simple meeting, the fact that you can communicate your thoughts, it's important.
Yeah, definitely. And I fully agree with that as well. And I think, that's a few people have said the communication aspect, but I think, as you said, what's important at the beginning of your degree is that what we're trying to do on the podcast is get rid of a few of the stigmas as well that surround the podcast. Like, oh, no one wants to help me out. I think I'm just going to be left to it and left on my own, and no one's there to help me. But, if your company isn't supportive and isn't supporting you, and you don't feel as though you can communicate to anyone, there is plenty of companies out there that are the complete opposite, which have
Yeah.
amazing training and development programs, which have a really supportive environment and are super friendly, and people who actually want to give and pass on the knowledge as well. So if you are stuck in that situation, then don't think that is it with the construction industry. There are plenty of other companies out there that will be able to help.
Yeah, I totally agree. My experience as my first job actually was my worst.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I'm so grateful for everything I had. But I can 100% understand how it's to be in a very supporting environment and how it's not. So there is always a better environment if you are not happy where you are now,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that suits to each one as well.
Yeah. And I think in this day and age, training and development programs can be tailored towards an individual as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you express a certain interest in one particular aspect, then, they would have training and development programs that would focus on that. So, in this day and age, it's not really a one size fits all, and people
Yeah.
are treated as individuals and really left to develop their experience and things that they are truly passionate about as well. So I think
Actually,
that's
on that note, there is something very nice that I found out that happens in, well, UK, but specifically my company,
mhm.
because I don't know if other companies do that, but probably they will. Where you can go and for 6 months and work with another team. For example, if I
Ah,
wanted to try bridges, I could go work for
ah,
bridges, and if I like it, I stay. If I don't, I come back. And actually, this is really nice, and to do it in the start of your career, because you get a bit of experience. For example, you can get in geotech or you know something that you feel like you might need in the future, and it gives you more a rounded idea of engineering and what you do. So I think it's really good thing when you adapt your training to what you need.
yeah, definitely. Um, and I think it kind of leads quite nicely on to our next question. In kind of today's market, what do you think are the key characteristics that make a successful structural engineer?
So definitely the technical knowledge is a part of it. You do have to have technical knowledge, which you can get from studies, but also from experience. This grows as long as you progress.
Hmm.
But I think the most important is to be adaptive
Hmm.
to the needs of the client, to the design of the design team and contractors, meaning that you are a good collaborator, you collaborate nicely, you adapt to other needs to provide a good results, and also to adapt to the needs of our planet. We need to see what the planet needs and build sustainably, and to adapt to that change. We cannot we cannot keep building as we used to 50 years ago. So this is really important as well. And also I think to the needs of the market, because I feel like if you find a need of a market and try to fill it, this will find a very good solution that may work out perfectly for many people.
Brilliant. Very, very good answer. I like that. Um, so for anyone, potentially anyone just starting out their career or considering a career, or maybe someone who's a few years in who's just not sure where they can go to keep updated with the latest trends in the market, the latest news, or just discover and find out a little bit more about the engineering industry, is there any um, places that you would recommend that people can go to keep up to date, or any meetings or events that go on, whether that be online or indeed even in person?
So there's plenty, but I can recommend the ones I've been and
Hmm.
I know and I use as well. So definitely the ISTRAC and the ICE and the Institution of Civil Engineering and Structural Engineering as well.
Hmm.
They're really good. They have also the graduate membership.
Hmm.
However, you have to pay for that. But I believe, for example, if you want to have a training or the news or something, I think those you might have something free or something that you pay per training instead of all the membership. So I think this is really good. I've been to many events with the CPA London. This is the City Property Association, the LPA, the London Property Association, and the Westminster Property Association, the WPA. Those are all somehow linked between them, and they make events for example, new gen members, all the young engineers, architects, mechanical engineers. We gather up and we go to maybe a new project or a building, and we have a really nice chat talking about network opportunities, and maybe actually you can find somebody you can work with in the future.
Yeah.
So that's really good. They also update a lot in their LinkedIn. So I would say definitely follow all of those on the LinkedIn. And similar to those is the new London Architecture, NLA. They also arrange a lot of meetups. It's really nice, and I believe most of them have newsletters, so you can register to the newsletters and get some insights. And as websites in general, I've used the Engineer and the New Civil Engineer. They both share news in the industry. For example, this has built, or this is a new product, this is a new service, or something like that.
Sounds incredible. So we'll try and include links below, but for anyone just starting out who's not too sure and has just done a quick Google search, then click on the links below because you'll have a wealth of information there to go from straight away. So that's been really insightful. Thank you, Katerina.
LinkedIn also is very good.
Yes, most definitely. Because, those, the ICE and iStruct are posting all the time. Every time there's a publication, they'll usually do a post about it in terms of what's trending at the moment with certain topics, or there'll be free links to the publication as well. So do make sure you check out both those companies on LinkedIn. But I suppose for you as well, with people who are just starting out, so how important is the education route as a way into the industry, and what kind of courses or certifications would you recommend to people who are considering a move into the engineering field?
Well, the education is very important. That's why you kind of nowadays you do need a degree to join the industry. You cannot join it as it used to be in the past. But I think there is many routes now. So you can go from the university as I did, and then work. So you don't really see unless if you want to work in the summers as I did, you don't really see the job before you graduated. So there is also now the apprentice, and this is really nice because you work and you study at the same time. But I would say courses and certifications apart the degree that you can get from uni or apprenticeship is a very important one is the health and safety. For example, we do need the CSCS card to go on site, and this trains you to possible hazards for you and your co-workers, or in general, or training in asbestos, or how to react in some critical event, fire or something. And as well, it you learn about the responsibility on site, which is important as well. So definitely recommend courses in health and safety, and I'm sure there's plenty that you can find online. And if you do work in a company, definitely they will recommend something and provide that for you. So another thing I would recommend is some training in legal and commercial, especially legal, because you do want to know your company's scope, responsibilities, and legal requirements. This will help you in the whole project, how you work, what you need to do, and how to deal and react with anything that comes up. So those are something that we don't really find out in university.
Yeah.
I mean, health and safety we do, but the legal not so much, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's such an important topic as well, and that's a really, really good point. Actually, is the legal aspect of it is what kind of underpins a lot of projects. So if you can kind of start doing some research and gain an understanding at an early stage, it really helps with that communication aspect, particularly when you're speaking to stakeholders and speaking to clients. If you've got a base level knowledge of the legal aspect of it, that'll really, really help you for the future, because it
Yeah.
is such an important part that is often overlooked. And I always think of construction contracts sometimes as almost like a living, breathing organism where those contracts can change and update depending on stuff such as weather variations on site, and there's lots of different things that perhaps you just didn't even think about. It most people think of a contract as a couple of pages long and sign on the dotted line, but these contracts can be thousands of pages. So yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually, and one that no one's brought up on this podcast before. So,
but also as well, legal is really good because knowing your scope can help you for doing extra work that you don't get paid for. Many people has come to us and asked us to do a job that it's not in our scope and we haven't charged for it. So that means that we need to charge for it. And this is actually because in our industry we need to take also into account the financial aspect, and we cannot blow up the whole budget of the project just like that. So we need to be careful. So I find that it's really important.
Some really, really interesting insights there. Yeah, okay, that was brilliant.
Thank
And then just kind of leading on to our final question as well. I know with the CIOB producing a report to say we need 250,000 more people in the construction industry by 2027. Obviously, there needs to be a lot more that's done to help promote the industry. So what can either the industry or employers do to help kind of promote the industry, attract young talent, but more importantly, when they do have that young talent, to kind of really nurture and develop people's careers as well?
So I think definitely promote diversity and inclusion. I found that the last 5 years in the industry, we do have more women and more young people working. Back in the day, it used to be more men and not so much inexperienced people. But now with apprentices and graduate programs, we have done a remarkable work, I believe, in the last years. And placements as well. There's many placements such as industry placements or summer placements. So we do have that. So I think we do need to keep the industry and make it even more inclusive than it is now. That will attract the young talent 100%. But also something I like to do is find every opportunity to go to schools and STEMs and make young people aware of the engineering opportunities, because sometimes they don't know the type of engineering that they are, and there are so many. There is a fit for everyone. So there is not just structural engineering and civil engineering. There is actually so many things you can do. So I think we need to go to younger schools, such as middle school or primary. High school might be too late, but it's also good. But from middle schools, we should go and try to get them excited for that, because it's not all about math and physics. You do have to have a background, but solving resolving integration strips is not what integration in maths is not what this is about. It's about making a dream true. This is it. So the employees have many ways of actually encourage that, by having good mentors that support inexperienced colleagues, young colleagues that have less experience than others, but also provide relevant training. This is actually so important, that we keep up to date to the products and services, and give a little boost sometimes, because some people uh, need a refresh sometimes. Not everyone remembers everything. It's nice to get a refresh on some knowledge again. But also, when there is an achievement, to celebrate it from a small to a big achievement, the milestones. You need to make your employees feel like they worth, and they will recognize their awards, the rewards.
I think that's
So
yeah, that's a great answer, and something that's really personal to me as well, because I know in my son's primary school there was a structural engineer that came in from ACOM, and he absolutely loved building the models and making them, and I think that's really important, in terms of speaking to people at a younger age, particularly in the schools, because I think one of the common misconceptions in the construction industry, and one we've talked about in the podcast, is the construction industry is just manual labor. It's like a bricklayer or a roofer, and that's it. So to be able to educate children from a very young age to say there's actually different career opportunities available than what you might just think. Because that's certainly, when I was growing up, that was all I thought the construction industry was. And it's only until I spoke to a family member of mine who was an architect that I thought, oh, okay, maybe there's different things here. So, but a lot of children just simply wouldn't make that connection at all. So, yeah, I think that's really important work that
yeah,
you're doing there.
I think it's good for people to know that there is no only working on site. I
Yeah.
do go on site, but also I don't think I would love it. I love working in an office. So you can have an office job, you can have a job that it's outside. There is many things you can do, and you can even be a software engineer, or that has to deal with construction still, but such as our softwares that we use in construction industry. So there is many things you can do in construction industry that everybody can fit, I think.
Brilliant. Well, Katerina, it's been a really eye-opening episode for me. I think you've touched on a few points that no one else has done there, particularly the law side of things as well. So, yeah, it's been really educational, and I hope our listeners enjoy this episode. But if anyone wants to reach out to Katerina, either for events or public speaking, or indeed to go on a podcast, then please feel free to reach out. I'll include a link below to her LinkedIn profile. But Katerina, it just leaves me to say thank you so much for your time, and thanks for being such a wonderful guest.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Joining us on the Building Your Career podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our guest and learning about the different career paths available. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe so we can reach even more listeners. And if anyone wants any free CV advice or simply wants to know the options available to them, don't hesitate to get in touch.